Hello, hello everyone. Good day. Hope you guys are doing well. We've got another Friday live stream happening, and I'll just get everything prepped for a second here. How are you guys doing? Good day, good day, good day. You guys doing well? What are we wait, I can't read the chat. 1 second. I'm gonna open up the video, the stream. There we go. Let me make sure I got the right output happening. Perfect. Let me make sure I got the right, but it's not going through that. Why is that? Oh, wow. 1 second. Oh, I can't see shit. I guess it's whatever. I guess we don't need it. German people. What about German people? Stream will start in 1 minute. I'll be right back. Okie dokie. Welcome everyone. Hope you guys are doing great. It's been a week. And it might be another 2 weeks until I have the next live stream after this one, because I'm moving next week. This is something that I wanted to announce, is that I might not be able to stream next Friday, because I'll be moving next week, and you get out of this apartment before it starts molding again, like it seems to do every winter. So with that being said, let me just set everything up real quick, and then we'll be good to go. Test. Let me check that I'm on the right SIO settings. Perfect. Full screen. This is also set up perfectly fine. And then there we go. Sweet. Now we got the LEDs working too. It's 2 AM and I'm going to watch NASCAR until I fall asleep. Oh, that's nice. What the dog doing? Oh. What is the dog doing? Huh? What the dog doing? So with that being said, and put the stream over here, go full screen. Hope you're all doing well. Today, I wanted to go ahead and actually start something with all the new stuff that we got from that I've been messing around with and releasing. And especially, I also wanted to check out 2 new plugins that I got this week. Or I think the beginning of this week or last weekend, one of the two. One of them is called HELISERT or HELISERT, and then the other one is called Stranular. And they're both VST3s. They're also available as Max for Live devices for Ableton, but they're also available as VST3s, which I am kind of more of a fan of than Max for Live, because Max for Live seems to be a little bit unstable at times. So let me just quickly check that this is all running smoothly. It probably just has struggled tracking my face because of my beard. I've heard that from that guy on Twitter. Are we going to have a multi-sample pack soon? My DAW is already full with 8 packs. Yes, I think after a year I'll do like an anniversary pack where I'll actually add even more samples too. And then you'll get like one big sample pack that has everything in it, and then it's all renamed because I don't want to just do it at an arbitrary month. I want it to be kind of like a big thing. I was also thinking about doing it every 6 months, but I feel like that would still add up to many things. So with that being said, you can see the tracking going all crazy because I got a sneeze, so I'm kind of twitching. I wanted to talk about another new rack that I released this week, I believe. Yeah, pretty sure it was this week. And I called it N-RETUNE XT. And the way this thing works is it is actually a extension of Retune. I know that I've been pushing this plugin for quite a while. And then at some point I switched over to Pitchmap, which, by the way, still objectively just has better processing happening. But I go out of my way to think about like what is Retune missing? How can we improve Retune to its fullest potential? There might actually be another step, but that would also involve another plugin, and I wanted it all to kind of be with stock stuff. So since I released and Spectral Gate this month, I had this idea of using that as a way to clean up what Retune does. And then on top of that, the same kind of concept in Pitchmap where you can change the maximum and minimum frequency. I was kind of tackling that too in a very, very easy way. But so I want to show you guys this because this is really, really cool. I'll switch over to Ableton. I'll just make sure that I can without just suddenly jumping into a green screen here. Also, let me quickly copy over the YouTube link because we are currently live. So I'll post this to the server. Notify people. Angry ping Discord emoji incoming. Sweet. So with that being said, let's switch over to Ableton and check this out because I feel like this is really cool. So I'll go ahead and switch to Ableton now. And I'll unhide that. Sweet. Cool. So we are in Ableton. I'll throw on a serum and just see if you guys can hear this. Yes, can you hear this? Music. Perfect. Sweet. Do you hear the... Okay, cool. So what I'll do is I'll just load up, I guess like a bass glitch we can start with. So I'll load up this thing, right? I'll do that. Which, by the way, this rhythm is so cool. Like, you could totally make a song out of that. But yeah, so the new rack that I released this week is for everyone that is using Retune. And this rack is also available for night tiers, which means that anyone that doesn't want to get the elite tier, which is $16, you can get it for the night tier, which is $8. This is called N-RETUNE XT, and it looks like this. And funnily enough, this is the first rack where I figured out this kind of like weird thing with Ableton, where if you have, for example, an EQ8 and we have a chain and we have another EQ8 here and we, for example, macro, let's say the gain of this one and then the frequency of this one, there's no real way to keep this window open of this EQ8 without having to close everything. There's no way. So you'll always be stuck with these two chains here. And I've actually figured out a way to remedy that. And now you can see, even though this is band splitting, 2 times you see just a clean rack. And if you don't know this rack, the way it looks is actually like this. This is what the rack will look like. This is what N-RETUNE XT kind of just is released as. And the reason why this is because I don't really want to promote, I don't really want to have any like VST, like third-party VSTs inside of my racks. Except for obviously the kilohertz stuff, but that's usually just makes sense. But in this case, since some people use VST2, some people use AU, some people use VST3, there's a lot of compatibility issues there. So what I did is I just left the rack open like this. I actually added another group in here, so it says drop audio effects in here. So you know, okay, I have to throw it in there. So all you do is you load up Retune in here. Once you loaded up the rack, you download it, load up the rack, load up Retune in here, and then just save it. And then boom, now every time you load up N-RETUNE XT, instead of not loading up normal Retune, you can just load this up. And now you have a couple more features that Retune was kind of lacking. One of the things, for example, talking about Pitchmap, if I load up Pitchmap here, let me go with D, like natural minor. Let me turn on the purify so we can clearly hear the effect there. One of the features that Pitchmap has that makes it so good is the fact that you can take the highs out of the processing chain or whatever you want to call it. So what we can do we can basically take out all the high end and just not have a smeary mess. Let's go this way. So all that smeary high end you can take out. This is something that Retune was clearly lacking, right? So if I load up Retune, there's no physical way, or well, software basically as well, there's no way to filter this out, right? There is another plugin which is called Peel, which I actually ended up buying because I thought it was something, but unfortunately it really isn't that special. Which is also, by the way, by Z-Plane. So if I go here, Z-Plane, there is this plugin called Peel. And what this lets you do is it lets you kind of isolate certain frequencies, and then you can add another audio track. And then you take the audio from the channel that has the Peel on, and you do input inverted out Peel, and then put in. So now you can basically, for example, you can take Retune and then go with like D, chromatic to minor, turn everything up. And then you can technically like right, you can kind of just process the same frequencies that you want. And I thought, man, this is really, really cool, right? This is cool that they actually offer another plugin, and this one's like $40. They actually offer another plugin that does what Pitchmap does, which is to then isolate the frequencies so you can only process those. But one major issue that I noticed with Peel is the way it does the frequency separation is kind of annoying. And the easiest way to show this is, for example, if I take any kick drum, watch this. If I take any kick drum and I do a 23, you can see obviously that's the kick drum, right? Now what I'll do is I'll add another channel. I'll put Peel on there, which is right here. I'll put this on, and then I'll go to 23 and kick 04, inverted out Peel. I'll put both of these in a group. First of all, you have to have another group in order to hear the whole thing. So if I isolate that thing, it sounds perfectly fine, right? Because it basically just, oh well, I gotta put this to 23 group. It basically isolates back to its into its normal state. Now the issue there is that this works for isolating frequencies, right? So if I record this, this is one of the issues that you can see. Sure, once you isolate it back together, the isolated, the reversed signal and the isolated signal, it looks totally normal. But as soon as we just listen to the isolated signal, take a look at how much like smearing it causes, right? This is like a serious amount. This is 40 milliseconds that this kick basically has to pre-ring in order to do the effect. So the buffer size here is huge, or the buffer is huge. It's a very, very big buffer. And this also happens for the high end, for the mids, whatever you want to call it. And what this kind of ends up doing is that if we take the kick drum here, and it sounds totally normal when we also play the inverted signal, which sounds like this. By the way, has the same issues, so that's why it's phase canceling itself. As you can see, it almost looks like a high quality kind of. It's basically like a high quality, like kind of what's it called? Linear phase splitter, but it's like just doing it in a very, very dirty way, where you can even see, you know, you've got like this terrible amount of pre-ringing here happening. And one of the main issues that I have with this is that as soon as you start adding any effects to, for example, in this case, the low end, as soon as I start adding any effects, it breaks down. Now you can suddenly see the pre-ringing, you see some really weird waveform distortion right here, and it just becomes a big mess. So what this means is that as soon as you start processing this, as soon as it's different enough from the original, that the phase cancellation from the inverted signal doesn't do anything anymore, or doesn't help. I'm very jittery, aren't I? Jesus Christ, stop jittering like that. Does it have difficulties tracking my face because of my beard? What's going on? One second, I'll restart the app real quick. Oh, this app is so broken, bro. There we go. Cool. Now it's smooth again. So yeah, another option would be, for example, as soon as I start adding, let's say, a pitch shifter in here. Oh god, I thought I almost crashed. Yeah, then you immediately get like the phase cancellation back, right? So it's incredibly smeary. And the interesting part here is that retune, right? Yeah, it wasn't my beard. Now it's back to normal. Retune, funnily enough, retune already causes phase smearing. So if I add retune in here and I just record it, you can see that that's already adding. I'll turn this one off. That's already adding pre-ringing. So on top of peel, you get an additional amount of pre-ringing and smearing from retune. So it's like an even worse version of Pitchmap. Like it just makes it worse. And then what I've noticed is that what we can basically do with peel, we can basically just do with an EQ, right? So peel, what it does is it tries to isolate in kind of a linear phase manner. But the issue here is we can do this just with an EQ. And the idea here is that, sure, this is definitely causing phase rotation. Yes, it does that. But that's like far, like, if we're talking about two evils here, I would rather have higher CPU usage and maybe like higher latency and use a linear phase EQ that has far less pre-ringing than peel. Or just use a minimum phase EQ. Because take a look at the amount of pre-ringing that happens when we just use a minimum phase. Pretty much nothing, right? Because the process is different. The process is entirely different, so we don't get any pre-ringing. So this is the way to then isolate the frequencies for retune, rather than doing it with another like plugin that would cause even more pre-ringing, which we don't need. So that's what I did with N-RETUNE XT, is you have a high cut, FX high cut slider, and you have an FX low cut slider. And both of these move up and down, and they can definitely overlap, and then it gets a little bit, you basically, I think you hear like just the original, basically. I'm not quite sure. But what's interesting is, and I'll do this right now, I'll record this. I'll turn off desmear for now, even though that's probably not doing anything anyways. So what I'll do is I'll turn this back up. So what I'll do now is I'll go to retune, I'll put it to D chromatic to D minor, turn up the pitch correct, turn up the sensitivity, I'm smoothing all the way down. So now you can hear clearly if the high cut here is all the way up and the low cut is all the way down, we get retune, right? We get the infamous retune sound. That's off kind of like smearing in the high end or whatever's happening, right? And now what we can do is we can slowly turn down the high cut and listen to what happens to that kind of like melodic sound to it. Oh wait, we need desmear actually. We need this. This rack needs to be enabled. We can't disable it. It needs to be enabled. So this is what we're getting right with retune, and then let's turn on the. So this, sorry, this needed to be enabled because of the way I basically prevented the chain racks, the different chains to have to be constantly on. I'll turn on the high cut and just listen to what this sounds like. Let's do it the other way around. And that's the idea. That's the idea of N-RETUNE XT, is that we have the same option that we have in Pitchmap, where we can select the top and bottom frequency processing area. Now, again, low cut only goes up to 1000 hertz, because usually if there's anything you want to process even on top of that and not below it, that usually never happens. So that was kind of like the maximum. I wanted to actually put it lower, but usually you'll probably just turn this up to the point where the sub isn't included anymore. And then the high cut is really the main feature here. Same with like Pitchmap, for example. If you do just an over amount and we start taking this down, that's what's making Pitchmap sound so good. Not only does it do the pitch correction really well, but on top of that, you have the option to take off all of the top frequencies from processing. And that's why it sounds so natural. Now with N-RETUNE, or with retune in general, we don't get this option inside the plugin. And I doubt that the developers probably want to like mess with this, with the UI again, once they've already released it and everything. So I decided, you know what, let me just tackle this instead of a single rack. So that does it all for you. Because what retune apparently does do is it does isolate transients from the rest, just like Pitchmap, so that those don't get apparently smeared, but I still feel like it still does that. So I'm not entirely sure if we also have to do that process. But what's interesting is that this is a very, very cool feature, because not only do you now only process the mids that kind of contain all of the melodic content, but all of the top frequencies, like everything above 1.3800 kilohertz, is now unprocessed. So none of that is getting smeared. None of that is getting like, you know, like a crazy pre-ringing. So only the frequencies here that you're kind of like focusing on are also getting the processing. So it's an extremely clean way of doing it. And this honestly probably only works due to the fact that Ableton has its like latency figured out, right? If we tried to do something like this in FL, it would probably just like not work. So yeah, And then on top of that, we still remain with the main issue of this, right? So I'll fade this out. And you can kind of see it right here, even though I'll actually do Control J on this. Let me do that again. Don't show again. There we go. You can see that if I record this, you can see that this actually rings out longer than it should. Right, you see a lot more ringing out there. And so what I've done is I've taken the Spectral gate that I released, which is this bad boy right here. And I've had a hard think about, like, I've even seen like people like Infect as well on Twitter, like kind of like I don't know why I specifically remember that tweet. I know the camera's frozen, now it's fixed. I remember specifically one tweet from Infect where he said, you know, the main issue with retune is just the amount of, you know, the release, the decay, the tailing that happens from this. And he was suggesting something like Sooth. Now, what I've noticed is the issue with Sooth is that it doesn't necessarily it handles resonances, like it works on reducing the volume of resonances, but it doesn't necessarily work as in kind of like a volume envelope, or like a, let's say, like a transient shaper would, right? Because this is the main issue with retune, is that it doesn't necessarily attenuate resonances, but it actually just lets them ring out like crazy. So as you can see, we actually don't get a volume issue. Like the volumes are pretty much the same. Even the individual amplitudes. The issue is the length of these amplitudes. And that's why retune has this really, really, really annoying vocoder sound to it. And that's why a lot of people just jump to Pitchmap, because Pitchmap has less of that. Even at its 100% purify, it has less of a vocoder sound. So what I've done is I've had a hard think about, you know, what can we use to undo a lot of that kind of resonance and that tailing. And the one thing that came to my mind was Spectral gate. Sorry about that. Kind of butchered that. And the way this thing works is not only do you have a gate that obviously filters out the individual kind of frequencies that are the loudest, but on top of that, it has a release function, because it's a gate. So it's individual bands that are also being gated. So this release function, if you take a look at, for example, me turning this down all the way, up all the way to 200 milliseconds, you can see there's a lot more decaying things happening here once I turn the release up. Things get a lot tighter. There's a big difference in the sound here. Let me turn this down. So what that means is that it's tightening up all of the individual frequencies and having them basically just decay faster. Kind of like a transient shaper with the turning down the body, right? It's kind of like the same thing, making things tighter. Repulsive says, I fucking love you. Thanks for all the work you're putting out. Goat EDM teacher. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. So this is a really cool effect anyways, just like for music and bass design. It's amazing. But the main idea here was, what if we just use the Spectral gate, and I basically just use a flash down version that doesn't have as much things happening. It doesn't even do the low end. It just does literally like the mids to highs. What if we integrate this into our retune workflow? And this is what's called desmear. So desmear does exactly this. If I play this sound, you can clearly hear there's a ton of smearing going on. And once we turn up the desmear, you can hear, and I need to kind of loop this to be able to, I'll loop it right here. I'll turn it down. I'll turn it back up. Let me record it. So now you can see that there's a little less ringing out compared to this. And I'll actually add another channel so you can just see this. Oh, I think we have double the volume now. There you go. So you can literally just see by the amplitude that there's less amplitude happening in the release. Now there's still a little bit of it because, again, retune, you know, also amplifies some of the resonances that are there, but it's far less than what we had before. And this is a particularly loud sound. So if we take, let's say, we take the FX high cut further up, to like 4,400. And this is what it would look like. And then let's start turning up the desmear. You get a lot less of that ringing. Now, if you push it too hard, as you could already hear, we almost get like a spectral gate kind of sound, which is not necessarily what we want, right? We don't want it to sound like spectral gate. We just want to get rid of those really, really annoying tails. So you can push it up to this point. You can never get rid of it 100%. It's pretty much impossible unless you use some kind of like audio follower, envelope follower to cut things out. But even then, if you had it playing like this, you know, there would just be no way to do this with an audio follower. So we take this out. You can hear all that ringing, all that vocoder sound. And now it's nice and tight. And the cool part is, once again, that desmear is only affecting the area that we're retuning. So it's not affecting the rest of the sound, basically. So what this means is that we can now play this whole glitch sample. And you can hear the big difference here. So let me turn down desmear. And boom, it's clean. How cool is that, right? That's so simple. And then let me add, for example, some frequency shifting so I can show you what the variation there would sound like. Without it, you guys hear, like, is this audible through YouTube? Like, just turn up the sound. I'll talk a little quieter. Listen to the amount of like kind of like smoothness before desmear. Almost sounds like a bit of a vocoder sound. And now let me turn up desmear. Yes, so you can hear the difference, right? So there's now two ways to mix and retune, which is through frequency separation and through desmearing. Again, if you push it too hard, it's almost like notching it out, like filtering it out. So you gotta be careful. But now we can just try any bass glitch. And the coolest part to do is just to take out retune. I'll just copy it. And then we can just A/B this. So this is retune without any of that stuff. And this is N-RETUNE with the rack. Let's try something else. So on top of obviously the desmearing and the frequency separation, we also get much more crispy high-end that is not being smeared anymore, which is really, really cool. I think that Pitchmap might actually benefit from this as well, because I think Pitchmap also, even though it does turn off the processing for the other frequencies that are outside the range, I still think that it's still processing it somehow. By the way, how's it going? It's going good. I'm kind of just mentally preparing for moving next week. So yeah, and then we had that one. Let's pitch it up a little bit. Normal retune. Listen to how much, like, just listen to this. Almost sounds like there's some kind of room there. And then with N-RETUNE XT, it's clean. Now, if we do push desmear too far, you will end up losing some information. So, for example, I tried it on this BFX here. I think it was in volume 2. Where we have these delayed lasers. I tried it on here, and if you push the desmear too far, you actually lose the delays. So now it's like the delays are gone. So you gotta be careful what you use it on. If it's a very, very soft signal, you don't need as much desmearing. And try to only filter it down to the areas that you need. Let's try listening. There's also some phasing going on in the topper, like in the top half. This might be because of the kind of like spectral difference between the retune sound and the fact that there's still a little bit of fire and that it's also being separated because retune doesn't really catch it and the vocoder doesn't catch it. But yeah, you can try this in anything. And you get very, very similar results to Pitchmap. Now, this doesn't mean that retune is suddenly better. It's definitely not all the way there still. But it does get significantly better than what it was like before, which is the cool part. I gotta restart the app again because it's like spazzing out. 1 second. There we go. Okay. Reminds me not to schedule. Oh, next week. When will you be settled? Hopefully by the end of next week. Hopefully. I might have to check out the phasing that I can hear when moving through the high cut. I'll definitely have to take a look at that. That sounds interesting. That shouldn't happen. But there you go. You can try and change the key. And suddenly you have background effects that work in any track. How cool is that? And the one thing I like about Retune more than about Pitchmap is, again, the GUI or the interface is a lot easier to use. And generally speaking, honestly, you don't really need to... Like, there's no point in retuning or pitch mapping the high end of any sound, really. Because usually, at that point, you have so many frequencies up there that it's almost unnatural to have them all kind of be repitched. It's usually just the mid frequencies that need this kind of processing. How cool is this? But yeah, that's about that. Once again, if you guys already use Pitchmap, you can just use that. You can just keep using that. But for the people here that are using Retune, this rack is going to help you to just blend things better. Let's try it with this one. Let's try having Retune out. It actually gets really confused here as well. And then probably because of the subs, this is an F minor. Let's put it to E. Cool. Anyways, you can save this rack, just load and retune, and then save the rack, and then you can just use retune this way. It's usually almost better. Did you try that Max for Live Spectrum Analyzer? Is it good? I have tried it, but there's still, I feel like it still needs some work. Like it's very pixelated. It's very, very pixelated, and on bigger projects it also feels like it's kind of like slowing down the project. It's really weird. I think it still needs a little bit of work before I really start using it. But let's talk about another 2 plugins that I've been checking out recently, which is one plugin, actually 2 plugins by a developer called Kentaro, I believe. Hope I didn't butcher his name. But one of them is called HELISERT, and you guys might have seen this on Twitter. And then the other one is called Stranular, which is right here. And these 2 plugins were initially Max for Live devices. And the guy was probably like, you know, like other people on the DOS probably want to use these plugins. So he made VST-free versions, which I personally like a whole lot more because they're like kind of like processing independently from the DAW, and Max for Live devices are always a little bit weird like that. Kind of influence the DAW and stuff. So this is basically similar to Quanta, but in audio. That's kind of what you can think of. What you can think of when you see Stranular. And then HELISERT is kind of like a hybrid looper / sampler, where you can record audio and then play it back within the plugin, and get some really, really, really cool results when you pair it up with something like Pitchmap, for example, where it's kind of just pitching whatever you do in this plugin back to your key. I think we should probably check out Stranular first. And what I'll do is I'll go back to Alt 4. Oh, and oh, phew. Almost messed that up. And what I'll do is I'll load up my Zombie remix and use that as an example for something really, really cool that we can do. And you can do this with your own tracks too, which I might actually do too. Why not, right? Let me do this with let me do it with this remix though, because this one's just probably more interesting. Even though I actually want to try it with Take on the World. Let me find that one. Cool. So here's my track Take on the World, and now I have Stranular on this project, and I'll solo this, and I'll just play the intro. Put this to 140. So the way this works is that it's always recording unless you hit this button, which would be a freeze button, where it just kind of like freezes a certain amount of audio that you've recorded. And you can see it kind of just moving by there once I stop freezing it. And this is kind of like what it looks like. So the mix is at 50, so you can hear the recorded audio and the then like kind of like granularized audio that Stranular is working with. So what we can do is we can record something here. And now I've hit the freeze button, and now it just keeps playing it. And this is one of the things that are a bit annoying about these plugins. But you can always turn down the volume and kind of just make it shut up. And now what you can see is that it's constantly playing little snippets, little grainy snippets. And when you click on this little icon here, this is actually the grain shape. So you can make it more like this, for example. You can make it more like that. You can make it tighter. You can make it opener, more open. You also have this folding option, so it kind of doubles the grain, almost sounds like a ring mod. And then what's currently happening is the way this is set up is that you have the position value, which will change the position of the recording, and then you have the size button, which will change the duration of each grain. So each grain has a certain length, right? It's like an envelope. And then turning this up, which will make those grains longer. If you turn it down, will make them tighter. And then you can also see these kind of like brighter bars these boxes around it, and those are the randomizers. So you have the randomization for the position here, and then you have the randomization for the grain length. So I'll turn both of these down to 0, and this is what it sounds like. And then you have the intervals, and this is how many grains you're playing. So if you turn this down, this will space them out more. As you can hear, almost sounds like an auto pan effect. And then when you turn it up, now the reason why we still have a bit of randomness is because of the width. When we turn the width down all the way, now you can hear, almost sounds like a pad, right? And now currently, I've talked to the developer of this. I've talked to Kantaro, and I mean, I'm sure it's Kantaro, right? I'm not mistaken. Let me check real quick. Just want to make sure that I'm not butchering his name. Yes. Kantaro, yes. And I've told him, like, this is really, really good because you can already do a bunch of really crazy bass design with Quanta. But if you listen closely, this is mono. So if we check this out, I'll load up KHS Stereo. Take a look at KHS Stereo here. You can see that KHS Stereo is not outputting any stereo. Once we turn out the width knob, we're getting stereo, but this width knob here is actually just panning the grains. So it's kind of just recording it's recording in stereo and then kind of like, you know, rendering out to mono. And I've told him, you know, like sometimes you kind of really like the differences in the panning of the original sound, or even just the stereo width. Because if we, for example, record a bass line in here and then we start to mangle it with this kind of granulizer, we don't want things in mono, right? We kind of wanted to stay in stereo. So apparently he's taken the feedback and he kind of agrees that, yeah, this should probably be like an option here, that you keep the original stereo information. And hopefully there's going to be an update soon that will also introduce that. And then this thing is perfect. Because this is basically Quanta as an audio effect instead of it being like a, you know, like an instrument effect that you have to load up, then you have to put down a note, and then you have to like mess with the envelopes and all that kind of jazz. Here, you just record audio, and you can even, this is like one of my favorite parts about this thing, is you can basically freeze it, jump to a different part of your audio, and then play it, unfreeze it for a second, and then freeze it again, and then you'll get a completely different part in your recording. It's a little bit of a... And we'll get into why this is really, really useful in a second. But yeah, so basically stereo, like original stereo information is currently not available, so I'll just turn out the width all the way up. And then I'll turn it down first, and then we'll turn up the intervals until it sounds like one consecutive kind of thing. And then I'll turn on the width. And now we have a pad. Listen to that. Let's go over here. And then on top of that, what we also have the option is to randomize the position. And this kind of gets crazy once we start to like maybe work with something that's a little bit more chill. Let's turn this up. And start turning up the random position. How cool is this? And then you can also change the pitch. And now you have a song starter. You can throw this in your intro and you immediately have a pad you can work with. It's basically Quanta, but cheaper and in audio and just kind of simpler to use. Much easier to use. But this kind of goes beyond what Quanta can do too. Because what we can do is we can, for example, throw in a bass pattern, for example. And let's go ahead and record that. So I'll turn on the width here because we have to record a mono. I'll play that again. And now, I'll use a different bass pattern, and watch this. I'll keep playing this, and then unfreeze it, and freeze it again. Now what's happened is that we have two different sections of two different patterns in this recorded audio. And what we can do now is we can actually, and this is kind of crazy, let's turn up the intervals here a little bit. I'll pitch this back down. I'll grab an LFO right here. Press Control L. Oh, I actually didn't want to, 1 second. Didn't want to get rid of the audio file. 1 second. Fine again. I accidentally just deleted the, here we go. Close this. And I'll go back to Alt 2. So now, listen to this. Yeah! And again, we're losing the stereo information currently. So it's just kind of mono. We can turn up the width, but it's just not the same thing. And then, what we can do is we can map an LFO to it. So for example, we can do maybe down, and then I'll map this LFO in sync mode, so 1, 2. I'll map this to the position of this plugin. So to the, I think it's the grain position. And now what I can do is I can change the depth. I'm gonna turn on. I can change the offset. And what's really nuts about this is that if I decide I want even more different sounds in here, I can load up a completely different pattern and just record randomly. Maybe another one? Maybe this one? And we can kind of just get this mishmash of different bass loops. This pattern is a bit too fast, so I'll grab a different one. And there we go. So we get a bunch of really, really cool stuff happening. We can change the inverted size. And then what we can do is we can add another LFO. We put this to a triangle. 1, 2. I'll map this to the grain pitch. How sick is this? Can we do LFO mapping in the FL Studio? Yes, you can with the B controller. Maybe smooth the LFO shape a little bit. To make it extremely slow too. Change the face. Ooh. Oh. What the hell, dude? That was a subscriber, right? You can even change something. You can go maybe in here. How sick is this? Absolutely nuts. Is that Pitchmap to this? Let's mess around with this. Let's record some more bass patterns. You get so much cool stuff out of this. You can also try reversing this, but usually that doesn't sound as good. Let's also try N-RETUNE XT on here, because I want to see what that does. Also, one other thing is that a lot of people kind of just use retune and turn the pitch correct all the way up. This is very, very similar to going to Pitchmap and turning the purifier all the way up. I do not recommend turning the pitch correct all the way up, especially because retune doesn't do multiple iterations of processing. So what that means is that I highly recommend you have the pitch correct maybe at 50 to 80% max. All right. Because even if the pitch correct is all the way down, it's still doing something. Whoa! Listen to that. And now you could just imagine what this would sound in with proper stereo, right? Let's add a multipass to this. I kind of know why it's kind of like getting phasey towards the top end. Is because when you have this desmear enabled too, it definitely filters out all the high end there. So be careful with that. Set it up first and then try desmear. Almost go. Ooh. In this case, I actually kind of prefer retune sound in this case. I didn't have to turn on though. There you go. Another thing is, you can also, for example, record, you can load up, for example, let's just play this thing here. What you can also do is you can just load up Spectral gate right before it, any effect really that you want to use. And then what you can do, and this is really easy, you literally just then start recording with Stranular. So now I'll just go ahead, record a bunch of different bass patterns with the Spectral gate active. And there we go. But be careful that you don't mix things that are like too different. Like that, for example. I would have never come up with this, right? I would have never come up with this. Yeah, the only other issue is that it obviously keeps repeating. But yeah, there's so much potential with Stranular, and hopefully once it gets the stereo update, this thing is going to be absolutely nuts. Next up is HELISERT, and HELISERT is its own kind of beast. So this is what HELISERT looks like. And the UI is pretty intimidating at first because it's kind of like, what the hell is going on? But all I do is I literally let this play, and you guys can kind of just figure it out by me just playing this, right? So I'll go ahead and play maybe this right here. Oh, we have the multipass active. That makes it sound really weird. So what you can see is that it's basically a recorder. And what you can do, you can see if I play something, it'll record it first and then play it back for you. And then what you can do is, this is the dry signal, so this will just play the dry signal. This plays the wet signal. This is the wet volume here. And the way this works is it records for a whole second. So this is the input signal, but what you need to take a look at is the amount of seconds here. So this is the amount of seconds that you will be recording, which is up to 1 second, and then it starts to kind of overdub itself. But it doesn't dub over, but it just re-records and deletes whatever you recorded before. And what's really cool about this is that you have this locking feature. As soon as that's on, now I can stop playing the timeline. You can see that it's just playing what we just recorded. I can go to oversampling, turn up the oversampling just to make sure that that's on, because it just sounds better that way. Let's record again. And now you can see this is basically like a sampler, right? And what we can do now is we can change the speed of this. Just like we could with any kind of sample. And I think what HELISERT is really good at is generating new kind of like song ideas for you. By just taking a little snippet of something else and then looping it in a way that sounds really, really cool. And now what this thing can also do is overdub on itself. So once you turn out this recording button here, it'll basically record and then record on top of the original recording. So this is kind of what how it works. I'll go to the intro section and I'll play this right here. I'll reset the hertz here. And play again. So now you can kind of hear it, but it's kind of overlapping itself. As far as I know, this is what this does. I'm not entirely sure, but I think it does that. And then what becomes really useful is once you hit this little white button. And what that does, as you can see, it basically re-triggers the sample. So what you can do is we can automate this button like this. And now what we can do is we can change the way this kind of like re-triggers. So this is basically slowing it back down, dragging across the sample. We can give it a pitch envelope. And we can make it very tight. Now on top of that, we actually get this this blue icon here with this percentage, and this will offset the restart. And now we can change the pitch. You can hit this times 0.25 button to make it extremely slow. It's extremely effective if you have like a very kind of like complex texture and you want to slow it down and hear all the individual like little hits and stuff. But you can also turn it up to 5 times. But for 5 times to work, the recording time has to be lower than 500 milliseconds. And this is what HELISERT does, basically. And what we can do is we can, for example, create rhythms for this. So we can do... And what's really, really cool is we can just overlay the audio. Let's make sure that the automation isn't being deleted. And let's just copy this over. So I'll go delete like most of this stuff in here. I'll copy over the playback reset here, just like that. And then I'll just go ahead and start recording again. And then you can also crossfade recordings. By using this crossfade function here, if we turn this off, it'll just be a hard cut. So this basically just generates ideas for you. And what's really, really cool about this is when we run it through something like Pitchmap, because now we can take any of these signals and make them key coherent. So for example, I'll take something like D minor. And now I'll just start playing around with this. And you get a bunch of really, really cool stuff you can work with. Let's pick a different part of the song. And you can automate this. And you can also automate the position. So for example, we can automate this to play something else here. Play something else here. And then play something else there. Let's record a little bit more so we have more content. What I like to do is I like to use the spectral gate before I record. I don't think this is a particularly useful section to record, so I'll record something else. I'll actually grab the other track that I have, which is obviously the Zombo remix here. I'll grab that real quick, and you can see that that one works a little bit better. So I'll grab that in here. 1, 2. So I'm just grabbing the intro. I'll just let it record for a while. I'll turn the spectral gate down a little bit. What I'll do now is I'll add a note. I think we already have a serum in here, so I'll use that. Let's pick a different part. I've turned on the spectral rate even further. And then you can kind of use it as a sampler. And let's go ahead and use the playback reset here. Still got a little bit of a click there, so I might use a auto filter. Record a different section. So you can see and then you can record over itself. Let's add some auto panning. Let's make it a little shorter. And there you go. Now, this also becomes extremely useful is, for example, if you do this for very creative sound design. So, for example, if we take a simple sub note that will be playing alongside this, so instead of a saw wave, this will just be a sub. I'll grab a utility and I'll add an envelope follower onto this channel here. And I'll grab an EQ8 and I'll remove all the low end from our HELISERT signal there. I'll map the envelope follower to a utility on the serum channel and then put this to, put this to, oops, put it on here. I was almost wondering because I added it. Put it at 50%. So now whatever comes out here will also push the gain of the sub. And then what I'll do is, instead of recording like random samples and stuff, I'll actually record glitches. So I'll drag in a bunch of glitches and I'll drag them in a way where they're right next to each other, and that's kind of important. I'll put them right over here, just like that. And then what I'll do is I'll use the overdubbing feature. I think that's what it's called. I'll turn that up quite a bit, and then I'll start recording shorter sections of these glitches. Watch this. I'll go below 500 milliseconds. Actually, let me delete HELISERT because I don't want any of the automations there, and I'm just too lazy to kind of like reset those things. So I'll just add a fresh version. Below 500 milliseconds, overdubbing, and there we go. I'll turn on the spectral gate even further, and this is before HELISERT, so it'll record. How sick is this? make sure the oversampling is on. We can even go reverse. So even for rises, with some custom rises. Let's try with retune. How sick is this? And we can record extremely short audio bits to the point where it's really just like one short sample. Let's try Pitchmap. I really wish that you could actually sync this to audio. But I guess it's pretty much impossible because of the reloading, recording time. You can create so many cool atmospheres. If you wanted to, even, you could use Stranular after all of this stuff. And just record it with Stranular in there. And you can tell, obviously, HELISERT just keeps playing, which is a bit annoying, so we'll probably like resample it. Let's go ahead and resample it. Shut up. A sharp. We'll do... I need this even faster. It just doesn't go faster than that. Scrub half time. then you can just kind of, you know, start something like this out of HELISERT. Just by recording random glitches. And then we can even take... I don't think the Zombo remix is in here anymore. I don't think so, at least. You can take Heli-cert, put it somewhere else on. Let's paste these. Actually, let's just use this channel here. And then what I want to do is I want to just bring all of these close together, and I'm going to use Heli-cert, which I think I deleted now. Over here, I'll record something. And then what I'll do is I'll re-trigger it. And now we get a bunch of really cool textures. thing you do have to notice is that HELISERT and Stranular don't save the samples. So if you save the project, don't expect them to reappear when you open the project. So you'll probably have to resample anyways, right? There's just too many cool things happening. Can't decide for something. That's cool. Sorry for that. You right? Can you hear that? Spectral still does a bunch of smearing too. So we're losing a lot of high frequency information there. I wonder if what would happen if we throw in like Pitchmap instead. Oh wow. Wait, listen to the difference. And forward in. That's very similar. Actually, now. Oh wow, it still smears the top end. So with N-RETUNE XT, it becomes even cleaner too. That's cool. see if that's true. It's very similar though, now that it's actually detecting the high end there. Now, actually not getting the original thing. Let's resample it. That's sick. Okay. So this is what we get. Let's go ahead and push this against the limiter. You can also mess around with the timing of this. Maybe I don't like the second part, so I'll go back here. So what I'll do is I'll just go to the playback offset and just change it. I'll probably just take a different part for this, so I'll just literally... You can always, you don't even have to automate this because you could literally just resample and just take bits that sound cool. I'm missing the gate. There we go. And we get this. And we get such unique sounds out of this. It's kind of a This is where it starts. It's kind of random at this point. I don't know why it's not. Yeah, now it's playing again. There we go. It's a little bit too aggressive with the limiter. Let me try the spectral gate in this. Sweet. Lovely. Put this to loop mode, and then we'll get creative with the looping. we'll start off with like a first hit. We'll loop like a section like this. What's the other layer that we had? Did it disappear? Oh, it's down here. RGB water type beat. Oops. And then we just mimic whatever these notes are with like literally like probably just an operator actually. Just to create the melody. Let's do And there we go, we got like some chill melodic house kind of thing. I did want to play it like an octave lower. Just so you can kind of hear more of a melody. rather than it just being mixed with everything else. Even though that's kind of cool, having that one up. And what we could do this a bit more stereo. But yeah, that was fun. Completely different genre than I usually do, but this was pretty cool. And I'm definitely going to keep using HELISERT and stuff for just like kind of just, you know, if you don't necessarily know what you're going for, I feel like this thing can totally like trigger any kind of genre that you want to, you know, go for. It's such a cool plugin. So cool. But yeah, with that being said, I think we'll wrap up this stream. And I don't know if I'm going to be able to be on for the stream next week already, because again, I'm moving on Monday. So that probably will be difficult. This was a bit of a shorter one, but once again, my headspace isn't fully on just making music at the moment, especially because, you know, I've got some very stressful stuff coming up. But other than that, I hope you guys enjoyed this little live stream. And that being said, oops. That was a good stream. Thank you very much. One second. I'm kind of going crazy here again with the... fix the stupid camera. Come on, brother. There we go. Oh, not connected. There we go. Sweet. But yeah, other than that, hope you guys have fun using any of these two plugins. Once again, I think Stranular is going to get a stereo audio too, so that's going to be super fun. And HELISERT, once again, is such a cool little plugin that can generate so many interesting ideas. Other day I saw the streamer using N-RETUNE. It felt so good. Oh, that's great to hear. That's great to hear. You know which streamer? Do you know the name? It's always cool to see people actually like use them and stuff. Oh fuck. Okay. Cool. Anyways, I'd say this was an interesting stream. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I'll see you guys hopefully next week. I cannot 100% guarantee it yet because I also have to see about the acoustics and stuff and the other apartment. But other than that, I hope you guys have a great rest of the weekend. And I'll see you guys around next time. Goodbye.